This is the Save the Ocean Seiko Samurai. I'll have the model number in the title and description, as you can see. And we'll talk about price here in a second. But this is literally basically the exact same Samurai that you can buy anywhere else, with the exception of the dial printing, the dial color, and the colored bezel, although you can get similar, and we'll talk about that through this video here as well. But when I say the same, I mean it's the exact same size, 43.8 millimeters. It's 13.5 millimeters thick. It's 48 millimeter lug to lug. It has the same Seiko 23 jewel automatic 4R35 movement. It's the same movement that you could find in the Seiko Turtle, except the Seiko Turtle has the 4R36 because it has the day date. It has the Hardlex crystal. It's 200 meters water resistant, 22 millimeter lug, same bracelet, same everything. But you're getting it in this new colorway with this dial and this dial texture. Now, the dial texture is meant to be like the waves of the ocean, and that is because part of the proceeds from the sale of this watch and the Save the Ocean Turtle as well will be donated to the nonprofit Fabien Cousteau Ocean Learning Center that raises awareness of ways to preserve and protect the planet's waters and endangered marine life. Yes, I'm reading a copy of that directly, but part of the proceeds, and I don't know how much of the proceeds are going to go to it, but part of the proceeds will be going to that. So I'm going to come at this review a little bit differently. I have not owned a Seiko diver in a long time, and I believe I did own going back in the day, going back 2005, 2006, I did own one of the original Samurai divers, which looked a little bit different, had different handset and dial markers and everything like that. But I haven't owned one in a very long time, and I borrowed this from a friend on Instagram, and I just kind of wanted to check it out, kind of wanted to review one of these Seikos. I knew he had a bunch of them. He graciously lent it to me so I can do this review. And I think the Samurai one, I mean, if you pop in Seiko Samurai here on YouTube or even on Google, you're going to find countless reviews on this. So I'm not going to get like overly, into the specs and the watch of like and how the Seiko actually is as far as the watch. I think there's so much out there. I think people know what kind of value this really represents, and it's so popular. I know people know the value that this has. For instance, now their full list retail price is $525. You can find this cheaper online. Now, right now, I see it for a price of $394 from Long Island Watch, which is a pretty good price. You might be able to get it just a little bit cheaper, but this one is going to be a little more expensive, even on a deal, than the regular versions because it is that Save the Ocean limited edition type deal. So as I said, if we get up close here, this is the exact same Samurai that you would be able to buy as any other Samurai. It is the same case, it is the same dimensions, it has the drilled lugs, it has these very unique angled lugs, makes it look like a three-piece case. This version, as you can see, has the PVD crown and bezel. And the, highlight here for a lot of people is this dial, and you have that blue wave ocean dial, and it has that look of, diving down into the ocean. As you can see, it gets darker as it goes down the dial. And you could see those patterned waves here. So, as I said, I'm going to come at this a little bit differently than I think another reviewer would at this point when talking about the Samurai. And I don't mean that in the sense, I don't want to rehash what the Seiko Samurai is because there is just so much of an abundance of information out there about it. But what I do want to talk about is, I haven't owned a Seiko diver in a very long time. And I believe I did own one of the original versions of this before they had updated it, going back to like 2005 or so. So it's been a long time, and it's just been a long time since I had a Seiko in general, and I can't remember the last Seiko that I had. And I'm going to tell you right up front, during the Black Friday sales and holiday and everything like that after Thanksgiving, there were tremendous sales on Seiko Samurais, especially here in the US. And I was contemplating buying one. I was just going to buy one. And I was like, okay, I'll wear it, I'll review it, and whatever. Maybe I'll keep it, maybe I won't. And then I remembered, oh, you know what? Ty has a bunch of them. I'm gonna, reach out to him, see if he'll send me one. And he, of course, did. And I'm glad he did, and I'm glad I didn't buy it. And here's the simple truth why. The design, and there's really nothing wrong with it. It's a nice standard dive watch, and it doesn't look like a Rolex. It doesn't look, like an Omega or anything else. It has its own unique look, as a lot of Seikos do. It does share some things with other Seikos, namely that hour and minute hand, which can kind of make Seikos start to look a little redundant. But we're talking about case design and everything like that. It doesn't look like every other dive watch out there, which is great. But for me, it's just not a winner. If I was to choose a Seiko, I'd probably choose the Turtle at this point, or maybe something a little higher end. This one is just, I don't know what it is. It's just not really doing it for me. It's not singing to me, if you will, as the watch enthusiasts like to say. The dial, for instance, is my least favorite part. And the funny thing about that is other friends of mine that have this, and they're like, oh my God, that dial, it's amazing. It's killer. It's the best. I hate it. I hate to say that, but like, man, do I hate it. This pattern dial on here, this wave dial, it's not doing it for me. If I was to go for a blue one, it would be the limited edition Blue Lagoon model, which has a blue sunray dial, which is also lighter in color and has like that aquamarine quarter bezel area. And honestly, if I had to have a Samurai, it would be the new what are they called? The Gray Dawn models, and they have the orange quarter bezel, and it's like this gray. I call it the meat tenderizer textured dial. That would be my personal choice if I had to choose a Samurai. But I won't be choosing a Samurai anytime soon. I think one of the reasons that, and of course I know you could take this bracelet off and I could put this on whatever kind of strap that I want, but I think one of the reasons that I'm not a huge fan of Seiko in general these days, at least at the $500 and under price, is I just don't care for these bracelets. I never have, and they really haven't changed since the last time I owned one. You still have the same flip lock clasp. You still have the same diver's adjustment, the diver's extension. And here's my problem with that diver's extension. It's when you look at some of these, the ratcheting clasps that a lot of dive watches have these days, when you look at that on the wrist, whether it's over, you were putting it over a wetsuit or it's on the wrist, it doesn't look as awful as this would. This is really, really meant to be used for over a dive wetsuit and nothing else. It does not look pretty when it's extended at all. Here's what I mean by that. This is what it looks like extended. You just pull the tab from underneath and it opens it up, and now you could fit it over a wetsuit if you need to, if you're going to go diving with this as your companion watch or whatever, your secondary timing piece. And it serves its purpose without a doubt. This is what it's for. It's meant to be used for that. But nowadays, with a lot of, whether it's a Doxa or many other different dive watches that have that ratcheting extension clasp, it's also able to be used as a micro size adjuster. So if, you size the watch up and you move a pin or two over and it's still a little loose or it's still a little tight, you could use that ratcheting extension part to tighten or loosen the watch up on your wrist. And you only have like a little piece showing, and it doesn't, obviously you would never wear this normally on your wrist like this. This is just meant to be used over that dive suit, the dive suit, and that would be it. Now, don't get me wrong, it might sound like I'm trying to diss this watch, and I am not. I am I've owned countless Seikos over the years. Like I said, I haven't owned one in a long time, but believe me, well before the YouTube craze and the watch forum craze and everything else, I was wearing a lot of Seiko Citizens, or excuse me, Seikos and Citizen Ecozillas, and you name it. And for if you can get this for around that 394, 350 price, or even one of the other Samurai models, you can get them a little cheaper, $320 on a bracelet, or like $280 on the rubber strap. Yeah, you're still getting a great watch. I mean, crown works absolutely fantastic on this watch. The knurling on the crown is great, and I imagine if you needed to do this and you did have gloves on, that it would still be pretty easy to do so. Bezel action is absolutely superb. It has that very smooth hydraulic feeling to it, and it's just a very, very nice bezel. The whole case is constructed really well, and if I take away that bracelet, if I was to put this on a third-party strap code bracelet, if you will, which to me look and work a lot better, for at least for my personal use anyway. I mean, case construction, everything else on this, it's fantastic. Great dial work, beautiful dial. Even though this is a hardlex crystal, which really is just a fancy word for a mineral crystal, it's just their proprietary name for it. I do personally prefer sapphire on a watch. That's just what I use a watch, how I use a watch, and I don't like scratches on it. Sapphire just works better for me. But it really does have like a nice anti-reflective coating on it, and it's a very clear and clean crystal, and allows you to see that dial. There are so many micro brand dive watches out there these days that have tremendous lumen. Now we have that new X1 C3 Super Luminova, which is supposed to be even better, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Seiko is still, I don't know, maybe they're not at the top anymore, but they're still near the top. Their lume is excellent. Obviously, I still have a light on here, but you could see how this thing is glowing. Just because I still had that light on, here's what it looks like in absolute complete darkness. Here's a look on my 7.5-inch wrist, and I'll be honest, this is just a tad tight for me because I don't have any extra links available to me, because this came straight from Thai, just as it is. So I don't even know if this was sized or not. I imagine that there were extra links because it's sized and it just fits my 7.5-inch wrist. And this is, to me, where a new style ratcheting extension clasp would really come in handy here, because I could always pop it out just a little bit and this would fit me absolutely perfectly. Instead, I would definitely need to add another link back into this, and then go ahead and move the pins in the clasp over a couple to kind of get that perfect fit. But if you're wondering what it looks like on a 7.5-inch wrist, there you go. Obviously, the Seiko Samurai just isn't for me anymore, but there is no denying how awesome and how great of a dive watch that Seiko still makes, especially in that under $500 category. Now, like I said, I'm somebody, if I'm going to spend the money, I really, really want a sapphire crystal on my watch. I know there's going to be comments below. Well, why do you need sapphire? Well, why do you need this at your house? And why do you need this in your car? And why do you want this? Well, it's what I like, and you may like something different, and that's okay. But there's no need to make the comments so we can argue back and forth. It's stupid. That's just me. I prefer sapphire. But if you are okay with the hardlex mineral crystal, I mean, yeah, try and find the absolute best price on one of these, whether you're buying it new or you want to buy it pre-owned. If you're going to buy them pre-owned, you could probably get them for $250 easily, usually, whether you're on Watch Recon or maybe even eBay or whatever. So the Samurai isn't for me. Still an amazing, well-built watch. If I was to buy one, it would not be the Save the Ocean version, unfortunately. But thank you, Ty, for letting me borrow it for this review. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to our channel and you're not already, please do so, and then hit that notification bell twice. That way you never miss any of our content. If you want to follow us on social media, it is at Watch Report, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. This has been a look at the Seiko Save the Ocean Samurai. This is Don Evans for WatchReport.com. Talk to you on the next one.